Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of 365 Days of Gaming. Really appreciate you taking out time to check out this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Greatly appreciate it, so thank you in advance. Now we're continuing on with a list of PlayStation Demo Disc Legends, or Greatest Hits as we've been calling them. And of course I had to do a beat 'em up one because, you know, it's me. And if there's a beat 'em up on the system, I probably played it at least, a dozen or so times. And this one is no different. This one is Fighting Force. Now, Fighting Force was a game that came on the PlayStation Demo Disc. So instead of them giving you a full game like they used to, with the NES, Genesis, Super Nintendo, the PlayStation gave you a demo disc that had a bunch of demos of various games for the PlayStation. Usually, some PlayStation exclusives. And Fighting Force was the beat 'em up representative of the bunch. And essentially you play one of the four characters. You can play single player or co-op. Now, this game is the definition of solid, but not great at anything. But I felt like this game was laying the foundation for something. So, the first one in the series is usually could be the lowest rated out of the total once you get to it. And I thought that was going to be the same thing with Fighting Force. You got four different characters. They all represent different archetypes. You have the big guy, you have the small chick for the speed, and then you have two, they're both balanced, but one's more speed, one's more power. So I always played with Mace because she kind of reminded me of Blaze from Streets of Rage. So, I still was in my Streets of Rage phase, so I always picked her. And the game is simple. It's not too difficult. The enemies can be kind of cheap. They can put you in the blender and kind of just, left, right you. But for the most part, you got decent movement. This was one of the first 3D beat 'em up. So there's a lot of things that were going on here that I thought was a good idea. And I was, excited to try it out. And I played the demo a lot before actually playing the real game. And this is, again, a greatest hit. So by the time I got a chance to get it, $20, there's no way I can really lose. But I still always felt like this game just never quite put it all together. But like I said, very solid. You can beat up vehicles. Sometimes you can find secrets. There are, destructible walls. But then when you get into the actual combat, it was kind of more repetitive than most beat 'em ups. And that's saying a lot since the basis of beat 'em ups is, repetitive punch, kick. But, the combos and things like that weren't that varied. And using the weapons just felt like you were, just doing damage. It's better for damage, but it never felt satisfying. That was probably the biggest issue with this game, is nothing really ever felt satisfying. And, again, I was excited because even if this version isn't great, but when we get the next Fighting Force, it could only be better. That was my mindset. I'm going through the different stages. Of course, they got an elevator stage because why wouldn't they have an elevator stage? They're checking all the boxes. So I just felt like if we could just get through this one and we could get to the next Fighting Force, they could do, nothing but better. This one's only 2 players, but there was 4 characters. So I'm like, all right, yeah, the next one, they're going to put 4 players in here. That's the only course of action, right? Nope. After this, it kind of went by the wayside. They tried to go all in on this kind of Metal Gear Solid copycat type of game with a sequel. So we never quite got around to figuring out the beat 'em up thing on the PlayStation. That was probably the only miss for the entire console, is that, and this was just kind of the way it was going. Beat 'em ups were much more seen as a Genesis and SNES kind of time, and everything with the PlayStation was more 3D, more platformers, racing games. Anything that was based on fighting was usually like Tekken or, the wrestling games. So beat 'em ups just kind of faded away. And I never understood it because I felt like these systems, more so than what we had before, were perfect for these type of games, but it just never quite took off. So Fighting Force was what I thought was the start of something on the next generation of consoles, and it ended up being the end of things because everybody pretty much abandoned beat 'em ups until, I guess, when they started redoing Double Dragon and everything on the 360 PlayStation 3. So we pretty much were 2 generations away from beat 'em ups. Now there's going to be another one during that era that's kind of beat 'em ups. And yeah, the Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors games were, I guess, the official next evolution of beat 'em ups, but they never quite did it for me in that fashion. There are some solid ones, and there may be one on this list, but that's not because of that. There's a whole reason why that one will be on this list if we if we manage to get it that way. But Fighting Force is definitely a solid game. Like, it has some replayability. There are like different weapons. The use of guns I always thought was pretty cool. There are different boss characters that you fight. You have branching paths. So there's a lot to get out of this game. Again, this is why I felt like if we just gave them another one, I mean, it made greatest hits. If they would have just stuck to refining this formula and not trying to copy like Metal Gear Solid, then I think, you know, Fighting Force could have became a really big franchise, especially in the beat 'em up genre, but also, you know, like one of those PlayStation exclusives in the vein of like Crash Bandicoot, you know, being like a staple for the PlayStation. But that was not to be. But I still always enjoyed this game when I played it. Like I said, the demo was pretty much the game, unfortunately. Like, everything in the demo is pretty much what you're going to get in the game. So that was like, all right, I probably just could have played the demo. But if you played Fighting Force, please let me know your favorite character. Did you beat the game? Did you enjoy this? What'd you think about that sequel? You know, any and all of your stories are greatly appreciated whenever you do these videos. So I really appreciate your response on those. As always, y'all have fun. Y'all be safe. Peace.